There we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have about four minutes left before we get started. So I would just like to remind you there are some waters, aqua at the back there. And if you need the restroom to your right, behind you, my left, there's a little corridor and there's bathrooms up in the back there. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you once again for coming tonight to our public meeting. This is the third one since we've been managing the incident. Once again, my name is Sean Collins, and I'm the Public Information Officer for California Interagency Incident Management Team 4. I'd like to thank once again the hospitality for Embry-Riddle and and for their hospitality, not just here for this location, but also for the other buildings that we're utilizing to host our incident management team operations and management of the incident for you all. So before I'd like to get started, I'd like to make some recognitions. From the Prescott National Forest, Supervisor Dale Dieter. There he is over there, thank you, sir. Also from the Prescott National Forest, Deputy Fire Management Officer Aaron Holbird. Thank you, sir. From the City of Prescott, Mayor Phil Good. And also from the City of Prescott, Mayor Pro Tem Kathy Rusing. Yavapai County Emergency Management, Ashley Alquist. And I didn't see her, but from APS, no, I didn't see, yeah, from there she is up there. APS, Mackenzie Rogers. And also from Laser, we have Kathy, and Prescott Fire Department Fire Chief Dura. So for our opening comments tonight, I'd like to invite up from the Yavapai County Board of Supervisors, District 1, Harry Oberg.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, and I'm glad you're able to come in here tonight and find out what's going on with this fire. I think this is very important to have these types of meetings to keep everybody involved and informed. As he said, I'm the supervisor for District 1, so I've got about this portion of the fire in my area. Chair Mallory was supposed to be here tonight, but she had a family emergency. She can't be here, and basically she has this other area, in her district. So obviously there's a lot that's going on. I think it's been, unfortunately, a pretty unpredictable fire, and we hope that conditions will start to change and we can get on top of this, but I know that our first responders are doing a really great job, and I'm looking forward to everything you have to say tonight to tell us what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As we get started, as normal, I'd like to invite up Operations Section Chief for California Interagency Incident Management Team 4, Kyle Jacobson.
Good evening. So the fire is currently 9,014 acres at 23% containment. And if you missed that, it's flashing on the board over here. So you probably don't need me to say that, but I'll repeat it anyways. We'll start kind of up on the north end and work our way around to the area of the most activity. Camp Kippa area all the way into Mount Union, Mount Davis, coming around the corner to 5 Points. Everything's holding in its current footprint. We haven't seen any fire growth. They've been able to mop up these spots 100%. We're feeling really good that this line is secure, and we aren't going to see any more progression out of this piece of line that we're showing in black. As we come down from 5 Points towards Moscow Peak, Yankee Doodle Peak, we've had resources in there for the past couple days mopping up, and we expect to see increased containment as the days come on, working towards the south and all the way towards Senator Highway. So we're looking really good on this eastern flank until we get to about Ash Creek Ridge. Here we have section 24 where you see this little bubble. This is an active area of fire. Our resources have been in here for 2 days. We've gotten retardant around it. We've been working it with helicopters as well with some hotshot crews. They're making good progress. It's just really slow going. It's an active piece of fire in good alignment with the winds. So we anticipate we're going to be able to grab this within the next couple days and have this area contained. But this piece of fire here does remain active. We've been able to get line all the way down to this sort of southeast corner. We did get a spot yesterday that just came out of that southeast corner a little bit. We've had resources in there all day today. They've been able to contain that spot, and we don't anticipate any further issues from that. As we move around the south, we haven't seen any real perimeter growth. However, there is an active area of fire here that's mostly pushing back in on itself, and as we continue to push resources resources to the south. They're going to keep working towards Old Bodie Mine Road and getting around this corner. So we are getting close to picking up this eastern flank, but we do still have a couple of areas with some heat, and they are active, and we're continuing to work in there. As we move around the south and to the west, we haven't seen much fire growth. There are still areas of isolated heat. As we start freeing up resources and pushing them further south, they're going to start working into these areas. Same is the same with the Johnson Flat area. I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with some of these areas. Not great road access to any of these areas, no real way to get to the fire perimeter. So we will be getting some crews utilizing helicopters to shuttle those crews in, and they'll be utilizing what we call coyote tactics. We'll basically just be having them camp out here. We'll be trying to get them food every night and making sure that they're well supported, have water, but they won't be accessing this with any vehicles or anything like that. They'll be camping out as we start working along this western fire's edge. The area where we've been seeing most of the activity, where you do see the smoke coming from, is up here in Division Alpha. We were able to get retardant using fixed wing aviation assets from this H14 all the way to the 81 road. And so that's really done a good job of checking the fire up here. And right here on the 52B road, we did do some firing over the course of the last day and the last night. Everything is holding on this 52B road. This is a very active portion of fire, and it's in really good alignment coming through Tridal and in towards Potato Patch. So this is a really critical piece of line that they're holding here. So far, everything's been holding. They're in there doing everything they can to make sure we continue to hold that. We got some hotshot crews. One of them started at H14, and they made really good progress today. They were able to turn the corner and get into about this area right here. So we finally have been able to kind of gain an anchor and start working our way south. And off the 81 road, we did insert another hotshot crew, and they started working to the north with the intent of trying to tie both of those crews in together. And as we start freeing up resources, we're going to be inserting more and more in here, trying to make sure we take care of this most active piece of fire. We've had great aviation support with both fixed wing and helicopters. You've probably seen them flying all day, and our resources are in here doing everything they can. Extremely windy conditions, extremely steep terrain. So despite all that, the firefighters are making great progress. They're out there doing everything they can and really doing what they can to seal up this fire. We are also continuing to work out here, realizing that there is still potential for this fire. So we have a structure protection group that's continuing to improve on any of the structure preparation that's happened in these structures that would first be impacted if the fire were to do anything, and they continue to work their way north, doing structure assessment, structure prep, if anything were to happen. We're also looking at potential indirect lines in the Kendall camp area, so they've gone and they've scouted all that out. As we free up equipment, we'll start working there, and they're already working on Senator as well as Wolf Creek to put in another indirect piece of line. So if we were to get a major change in the weather, that we have other options as we work further north. Hoping that we don't have to use those, but hope is not a strategy, so we are making sure that those lines are in there, and we are doing everything we can to protect these communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate that. Next up to give you some information on evacuation, public safety from the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, your sheriff, David Rhodes.
Thank you. Hi, I'm David Rhodes. I'm the Yavapai County Sheriff, and I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about public safety, about the evacuations, the status of some of the communities. But before I do, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank all the members of the public, all the residents, the people that live up there. Your cooperation makes this possible. It makes it safe. I know it's inconvenient. We evaluate multiple times a day, go back and forth. I am communicating directly with the fire incident commander to make sure that at the earliest possible opportunity, we are going to repopulate every single area so everybody can get home. But we have to, it has to be at least reasonably safe, mostly safe. One of the things that we have been most concerned about is the air, and I was very heartened to see that he was saying that they made a lot of progress here, because this area right here had been very active, and we've had a lot of discussions about this for the last several days, really all week long, about the ability with the southwest winds to blow this right back towards Groom Creek and Walker, which we had just populated Walker. We'd when I say populated, let everybody go home a day prior to that, and then suddenly it became very active. So we're very concerned about that. Potato Patch, or what we're calling Upper Potato Patch, past mile marker 10, is still evacuated. This area all around here, Mount Triddle, Mountain Pine Acres, I believe, all evacuated still. Walker, even though we let people go back, it is still on a set status, which means if things don't go well for some reason, you'll have plenty of warning, but it's conceivable that we could have to evacuate again, which would not be ideal, obviously. Groom Creek is on a set status. Ponderosa Park is on a set status. Of course, Breezy Pines over here is still evacuated. There's a lot of equipment up in there. You may not be seeing a lot of fire activity in that area, but what there is all the fire equipment. That's the only way for them to really get down here into this area past 5 Points, Palace Station, all these things that he was talking about. But we're looking to get that populated as quick. Is there anybody from Breezy Pines here? No? How about Potato Patch or any of this area? Anybody that's evacuated here? No? Okay. So, we're hoping that things are going to go very well. Other areas are still on set status, and what you got to remember is that with the winds, things that look very safe can become very unsafe very quickly, all the way up to Prescott, the ranch, all of these areas. You'll get ample notice. We are still using our Code Red system. We're encouraging everybody to sign up. We are answering questions. We are also encouraging everybody to watch our Facebook page. We're going to make notifications via Code Red. We're also going to make walkback notifications via Code Red, which means when it's time to go back into an area, or if you're taken from a set status to a ready status or no status at all, we'll make that notification via Code Red. We are then making these notifications via the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. We're monitoring the page and answering questions that are being posted on the page, so that is a way that you can communicate with us, and it does actually help because a lot of people can have the same question, and we can answer it right there. And then, of course, through the media. So last thing I would say is this is a phenomenally, things are going well. We're optimistic. There is an incredible amount of fire resources on this fire. I don't know that I've ever seen this many on a fire like that, especially as many aircraft. I bet you I counted more than 10 helicopters. I don't know how many there are, but there's a lot. There's an incredible amount of resources. We've got a lot of public safety personnel out there. Of course, Yavapai County Sheriff's Office deputies and detention officers are working out there. Yavapai County Sheriff's Office volunteers are working on the roadblocks. We have Prescott Valley Police Department, who I want to thank for their support and working on the roadblocks and the roving patrols. The Prescott Police Department, Arizona Game and Fish, and probably missing a couple. The last thing I'm going to say is this. We have caught a few people, and we have gotten some reports, and we have gotten reports from our air observations that there are people kind of getting back in this area and their four-wheel drives or on their OHVs or whatnot. They want to get a look at the fire. They want to do whatever it is that they want to do. These areas are closed, and the time for warnings has passed. It should be pretty well public knowledge now that this area is closed. It's an active fire area, And if you don't have business back there, you can't be back there. So we will be taking enforcement action if anybody is caught back there that is not supposed to be in that area. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Next up, I'd like to invite from Red Cross, Bunny Truth.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Just a couple of quick things. One, should you need to evacuate, please remember we do have a shelter open for you. If you have nowhere to go, if you want to be safe, you certainly are welcome. Everyone is welcome at the shelter. We've had several people dropping by in the past couple of days just seeing what the facilities are in case they need them. Also, we've had some people come by, and we had a woman bring an absolutely beautiful tray of lasagna and a lovely salad. We cannot accept that. We had to tell her to please take it somewhere else, and as it turned out, our mental health volunteer works with the women's shelter. So the food was taken to the women's shelter and it was used there. If it is not individually packaged, if it is not made by a commercial kitchen, we cannot accept that for safety purposes. So just a reminder, someone heard on the radio today that someone had said bring some food to the shelter, and they didn't specify that we cannot take homemade goods. And last of all, thank you all very much for your support. We have had wonderful support in Prescott, and we appreciate it very much. We can't do our job without help from other folks. So thanks to every one of you, and we appreciate your help.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to invite up our agency administrators from the United States Forest Service for the Bradshaw and Chino Ranger District, District Ranger Sarah Clausen, and also from the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management, Division Chief Jake Guadiana.
Good evening. I know you all are probably anxious to get to the question and answer section. I'm going to talk on a few points. We've been getting lots of questions on our Facebook page, the Prescott National Forest Facebook page. I'm going to try to address some of those questions right now, so hopefully there'll be a few of those when we get to the Q&A. And then, before I turn it over to Jake, I'm going to end with a bit of a plea. Okay, so first of all, as you heard from Sheriff Rhodes, much of this area is still closed to the public. So in addition to the evacuation areas, we do still have that forest closure area in effect. In fact, this morning we implemented a slightly larger closure area. The difference between the original closure area and the current one is that we expanded the closure area to the south. The perimeter of the fire went far enough south that it had breached that southern boundary. So that is the only difference. For most of you, you're probably just curious about the northern end of the closure area. I do want to acknowledge that while we're certainly seeing excellent progress and that the threat to the Walker corridor, where many of our recreation sites are in the Lynx Lake area, as well as the campgrounds we have more in the Groom Creek area, White's Bar. Many of you are interested in getting back in there. I just want to make sure I explain that our closure order may be in effect a little bit longer than those evacuations. The reason being is we still have lots of firefighters and equipment going into the active fire area, and they'll be there for quite a while, because not only will there be, as the fire winds down, which we hope continues to be the case, there's a lot of suppression repair work. So lots of machinery is in there and creating lines, and we do our best to repair those and help Mother Nature recover a little bit quicker. But because of that, lots of equipment, lots of firefighters going in and out of that area, and you know there aren't a lot of major roads. So we'll be working with the incident management team to determine when the best time is to at least retract that closure area just a little bit. We hope that's not too long, but please be patient with us in the meantime. It is for your safety, and it's for our first responder safety. The next question we've been getting a lot about is around fire restrictions. I know people have heightened awareness right now about the conditions of our fuels here in Arizona and New Mexico. Many of you probably saw, but just to make sure I reiterate it here, we are going to be, so the Prescott National Forest is going into stage 1 fire restrictions next Thursday, okay, a week from today, May 5th. Many of our partners across northern and central Arizona are also going into stage 1 restrictions. On the Prescott National Forest, what that means is you can only have a campfire in a fire ring that's in a designated campground. And on our website, on the Prescott National Forest website, and on our Facebook page, you will be able to find a list as early as tomorrow with which sites across the forest have approved fire rings for a campfire. Smoking. You can only smoke inside a vehicle or a building on Prescott National Forest System land, or in an area where the ground is completely denuded of vegetation for about a 3-foot radius. So no campfires unless you're in designated campfire rings, no smoking, and then finally on the Prescott National Forest, you cannot discharge a firearm unless you're engaged in a lawful hunt. Okay, so that's stage 1 restrictions on the Prescott National Forest starting next Thursday. Check out our website as early as tomorrow or our Facebook page for all the details. I also wanted to answer some questions for folks in the room or particularly online. We've had a lot of questions about the Whiskey Off-Road event that's planned for this weekend. We are very excited to welcome that event back after 2 years of a pandemic, and we have Epic Rides represented here in the audience tonight. We've had a lot of questions. Some concerns are, have we thought about all the potential safety impacts or traffic impacts when we have all these fire resources in town? And I just want to say, please know, we have had very intensive coordination and collaboration, not just with Epic Rides, the event coordinator, but also with the City of Prescott, including their Parks and Recreation Department, Police Department, Prescott Fire Department, but also Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, Yavapai County Emergency Management. We've talked to everybody that in the need for contingency actions we have planned, right? So please don't hear from that there's a major concern. We feel very, very confident that there is no threat to anybody in town, either as a participant or as a visitor or spectator. We do acknowledge that smoke is not ideal when you have endurance athletes or lots of youth here. Please check out our website for links to air quality monitors. We installed an extra air quality monitor. Actually, it'll be installed tomorrow morning, very close to the courthouse square. So if you want to see readings from that smoke monitor just to get a sense of what that smoke is looking like, you can access that link from the Prescott National Forest Facebook page. I think most of you locally have seen that the last few days the smoke has gotten a little bit better over time. So before I turn it to Jake, here's the plea. It's April. I'm not sure if anybody in this room remembers a fire of this nature this early in a calendar year. Is there anybody in here that seems remotely possible? No. Okay, we're going into fire restrictions very early. What this should tell you is that if you have not taken the time to clean vegetation around your homes, clean out your gutters, trim back those bushes, move your logs that you've got stacked up against your house for your wood-burning fireplace, move them away. Do everything you can to make your house defensible. If you do, it could be the difference between life and death. It could be the difference between whether or not your home is defensible. It is very important. This should be a year-long effort, but I hope that you all are seeing the conditions we have, and if you've been putting it off, please don't put it off any longer. We do not foresee any break in the season we have. It's going to be potentially a long few months. We know you're all very aware of it, but I would be remiss if I didn't please ask you to take that responsibility for your family, your loved ones, and your home. Jake?
Thank you. So I want to paint a picture. I need to go back in time a little bit to explain how we got here, currently in our fire environment. So in 1910, we had the Great Fires, which affected some states. It was like Montana, Idaho. It was about 1 million acres in size. Mass loss of life, mass loss of landscape, mass loss of structures. So in 1915, there was a policy that was implemented that said all fires had to be extinguished by 10 a.m. Whether that fire started at 1 a.m., 9 hours to get that thing extinguished, right? If it started the day prior at 11 a.m., you had until 10 a.m. the following day to put that out. Now, if Mother Nature had intended a lightning strike to burn 10,000 acres, and the firefighters then were coming in and putting it out at 5 acres, we end up with an abundance of fields in our forest lands. Okay, now mixed with a boom in population, and I get it, they're beautiful places to live, but now the two have mixed. So your current firefighter, the generation now, is trying to reverse some bad practices. So when you see the good prescribed fire smoke in the air, those are good management practices that are happening. Now, from the firefighter's perspective, when they show up into a community and they're faced with anymore, there's structures involved or structures threatened, and they have to take a look at a row of houses, and when we're strapped with resources, and there's maybe, say, one hand crew of 20 folks, how many houses can I treat with one hand crew in X amount of time? We have to weigh those options, and if there's 3 houses on that block that have done work and need just a minimal treatment, those are the ones that are going to get the love from the firefighters. The one that needs 10 hours of work done is not going to get the love. And it's a sad fact, but oftentimes we do have to weigh those options and write those properties off. If we get more resources that come in and that can help treat that property, by all means, yes, we're going to get after it. But we're going to grab as many properties as we can with the resources that we have. And you think about the current firefighter today is no different than the displaced members, right? We are away from our homes, we're away from our families, and I've heard this said, well, you chose that career. You're right, we did choose this career, and oftentimes you chose where to live. So do us a favor, do your part, and clean up around your properties.
Thank you. Okay, next up, our incident commander from California Interagency Incident Management Team 4, Incident Commander Rocky Opliger.
Thank you. Again, good evening. I can't thank each and every one of you enough for taking the time to attend this meeting, to get the latest information, dispense any rumors, and to share that with the number of folks within the community. And a special thanks for those folks that have taken the time to log in on our virtual format and the opportunity to answer those same questions. You know, it's a difficult task that those firefighters are out there, and I really thank Jake for talking about the responsibilities that each and every one of you have, that I have at home, and dispensable space and that responsibility, but the amazing relationships that the agencies have here to do that defensible space on their jurisdictions and work together and have a unified front and not worry about the color of the uniform of the agency to make those efforts to save our communities and protect our communities. But each and every one of us have that responsibility as homeowners when we live in these communities. The difficult job for those firefighters are looking at very narrow roads, steep terrain. We've had weather conditions where we've had winds at nighttime that have just challenged our firefighters. But they've done an amazing job where we are today as we stand in this room to really try to mitigate that threat of this fire spreading out, and allows the opportunity for our 2 major events to occur, you know, both the Whiskey 50 mountain bike ride and our endurance run. And so right now we're just pleased that we have that, but it's those efforts of those young men and women. Chief Rhodes asked about aircraft. It is a rarity to have the amount of aircraft support that we have. And we have 12 helicopters on here, and we've had unlimited use of the various air tankers. And the best part about that the resources that we were able to ask for from our operations folk to battle this fire, at no time have we been asked to give any of those resources up. And that's an anomaly. With the number of fires that are going on, they know what each and every one of you face here and those challenges, and to allow us to be able to take the opportunity to try to suppress this fire and not challenge us by giving us resources, really a testament to, you know, both they know what you face and that this is an incredibly high priority of an event of national significance. But my special thank goes to our cooperators. My gosh, from the Prescott National Forest, Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management, to our local fire chief that I've had the pleasure, Prescott Fire, to attend. We have APS here, we have emergency management, we have Red Cross. And at no time with all of our cooperators have I seen anyone kind of stand the front that, mine is a priority. It's a unified front. And that came here long before we showed up with the incident management team. And that's what allows us to be successful. And I already hear talks about what are we going to do in the future? How can we take and really capitalize on the various fundings that come to do more community protection? And each and every one of you needs to be proud of that cooperation. Believe me, doing this a lot of years, it doesn't happen in the places I've been throughout the United States. And that's a special proud that you need of these folks that have chosen those careers. I chose this career, is that it's not just the uniform, it's really about living and breathing in this community, and they take pride in that. So on behalf of our team, I'm fortunate to have our team here to help manage this. Yeah, but about all those young men and women that are out there, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll continue these efforts. And I think that we're going to be seeing some great successes from our operations folks that we know in the future here we'll be able to coordinate with our sheriff's department and be able to get folks back in. And my special last thanks is to the sheriff's department and the PD. As I've said before, I can put a fire shirt on and people are really proud that that's a fireman. And then our law enforcement people go up there. They're the ones that are evacuating me. Yeah, I got a ticket from the PD about a month ago. And they're the ones that are always impacted. And we forget what an amazing job these folks do. And believe me, as a fire manager for the number of years, I could not have been as successful as I've been in my career without that cooperation, knowing the impacts. When we say it's time to evacuate, that's our recommendation. They have to implement it. And they have to go back in and secure, and they have to ensure that your properties are still safe. So that's my special thanks there, Chief. And on behalf of California Interagency Incident Management Team 4, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. So now we can move over to our Q&A session, and I do see a lot of new faces. So what we did on the first two meetings, I would ask questions from this side, then this side, and then this side, and then this side, until we either run out of time, which is about 30 minutes tonight, or we run out of questions. But in trying to get that done as best as we can, we came up with a couple of guidelines, shall I say. I hate to use the word rules, but guidelines. And the guidelines that are there are one question per person and no repeat questions. If you don't quite understand the answer to the question, we can meet afterwards and explain it in a lot more depth and detail for you. Does that work for everybody still? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Is there anything else that you'd like me to add to that to facilitate? No? Okay, good. So what we do, we have one of my assistants. Where is she? Oh, there he is, up there. As soon as you're on that side, we'll start this side. So we'll have the first three hands to go up. We'll share the microphone with you, ask your question. I'll try to repeat it so I'll make sure that we understand it. And the most appropriate person who either has been presenting or has been recognized will be able to answer that for you. So any questions on this side? One. All right, one question. Oh, and one at the back. So we got two. Yeah.
So this question's going to be for Kyle. It's kind of up your alley. So the fire burned or tried to burn the east side of Lookout Mountain, went to the south, decided to spin a U-turn, and now it's been camped there for at least the last 2 days. Satellite imaging shows that the hot spots are still right there. So my question is, has there been any structure loss or damage for the homes that are in the area? And can you speak as to the severity of the forest after it's sat there for this long?
So the question is, with all the fire activity in and around Lookout Mountain, is there any structure damage, and what does the environment look like?
So for the structure damage part, there have been structures that have received some kind of damage. As to far as the level of damage, we coordinate very closely with the sheriff's office to do damage assessment and actually get a full assessment of what's going on. So I don't have information on exactly what's going on in there and what type of structures or anything like that. I can say our firefighters did a great job in there. They did a lot of defensive firing around structures and were able to save a number of structures that were in there as the fire was making a lot of uphill runs at those structures. And it's a very mixed severity burn in there. A lot of it has been downhill backing fire, which is really, really good for the forest and kind of its natural cycle and fire regimes. But there have also been uphill runs in heavy timber with heavy deadened down fuels where you are going to see, you know, crown runs, black trees, and we're going to see kind of these pockets of high severity, pockets of lower severity. So it's kind of mixed over the course of the landscape. However, there are going to be areas that do look a lot different when everybody gets back in there.
Okay, thank you. Gentleman at the back there.
My big question is, and I live close enough where embers are starting to fall on my house. I'm a little concerned. Why didn't somebody get aircraft air support up sooner? Because I think the dollar amount now is in the millions to go ahead and fight this, rather than saying, you know what, we got a little fire over here. We don't care if we spend $50,000, $100,000 to put out a small fire, while at the same time, to me, it just doesn't justify that you'd go ahead and say, okay, we'll throw millions at this one now.
Let me repeat it to make sure I do understand it, and we can go from there. So the question seems to be about aircraft getting on the fire quickly and spending, you know, what's the cost versus gain of putting aircraft on there, which is an expensive firefighting tool. Yep, perfect.
So I might speak a little bit in generalities, and I'm going to look to anybody in this room that can answer more specifically, and Aaron, if you want to be available. But here's what I'll say. So as the local district ranger and the agency administrator from the Prescott National Forest, on that very first day, Monday the 18th, I think it was, we did have aircraft immediately, and we've not had any trouble securing aircraft. We have continued to add the amount of aircraft, and a lot of that comes with, as the terrain changes or the fire size changes, we order the appropriate amount of aircraft, and we've been very fortunate to get every piece of aircraft equipment that we've ordered. Is that accurate? So I think I understand your question, and Jake, it looks like you're ready to help a little. Please.
So resources were dispatched immediately when this happened, both from the Forest Service and the state. Aircraft was ordered right off the bat, and for the public, there seems to be a hang-up with aircraft and its capabilities. If you have a timber overstory, right, or a canopy, and you come in with retardant with a fixed wing, and you drop that load, and it catches in the canopy, but the fire's still on the understory on the ground, how effective is that, right? We used the best tool for the job. Aircraft was ordered up, but you still need the ground troops to come in and work behind that retardant. So even if retardant's dropped and given hotter, drier conditions, that retardant will dry, and the fire can just burn right through it. So it's a combination of, yes, aircraft, but you need the personnel, and it has to be the right fuel type as well.
You know, having the opportunity to come, the fire started on a Monday. We were called Monday night, and we were here Tuesday, and I had a chance to talk to the folks that were part of the initial attack response. And I do know they threw everything they possibly could at the time. The other thing to remember is that aircraft, especially fixed wing, I tell my operations, never depend your tactics on those, because they will immediately be pulled for a higher threat of live property. And when this fire was occurring, there were structures being lost in New Mexico, and then eventually a day or so later in Flagstaff. And so I know the fixed wings were really being tapped, but again, we were fortunate to get what they could. And then the additional helicopters, we had to place those orders, and you're competing against those other fires. And we were very fortunate that they continued to bring those. But on the initial attack, I know that they threw everything they can by just talking to the folks that were on the ground. And that's the challenge of what we face in the Western United States. And I think Jake said it best. You know, aviation is only as good as the people on the ground, the firefighters that can utilize it. And there is that misconception. And when you take a look at what's happening right now, the success is that helicopter working directly with that crew on the ground. The retardant to slow it down and the crew being able to utilize it by slowing down to go in and make access. And again, I will always emphasize that aircraft use is only as good as the resources in the ground that can take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to this side. Oh, hold. Well, no, I'm going to go to this side. That's the rule. That's the rules. Any questions on this side? First three hands. No? Okay. Oh, yes, we got one right here. That gentleman, yeah.
So I'm kind of curious about the amount of resources. I live in Grim Creek, Dave Turbeville. I'm interested in the amount of resources because I come into town at say between 6:30 and 7, and I see a line of traffic going, you know, fire personnel going out to the fire. You know, I kind of call it banker's hours because you guys go out there. Air resources don't start till after 9 o'clock, at least from our side, at least from the Grim Creek side. But we don't know what's going on at night. You guys have closed the forest where we really can't see kind of what's going on. So I'm kind of interested in how you have their daytime to nighttime resources, and then have you considered using years ago, have you considered using some other civilian type help to transport your crews in on this western flank?
Okay, so the question I understand is what kind or numbers of resources do we have for day shift, night shift, and considering outside help that are not necessarily fire service personnel?
So I'll start with the number of resources. We have 855 personnel on the fire. Just on that north end of the fire, we're upwards of 25 engines, multiple crews, heavy equipment. We have a lot of personnel, a lot of it on the north side of the fire. Part of that delay that you're seeing is we need to make sure our resources are thoroughly briefed before we engage them in the fire. So we start our day at 05:30 with a pre-operational briefing into a 0600 operational briefing. And then what we're doing is we're making sure that we transition the resources. We have both day and night shifts. With the narrow roads, the limited ingress, egress, multiple access routes don't really exist. So we have to make sure we're coordinating the night resources coming off the line with the day resources going into the line. So we have constant coverage over the fire. There's always somebody on the line, and we just want to make sure that those vehicles aren't trying to pass each other on these narrow roads. So we really coordinate the resources coming off and the resources going in. And as far as the aviation assets and when they start, we've had air attack up at 0800 every morning. We do have, you know, a limit on the flight hours of the pilots, and that's usually about the time that we've got good sunlight. We don't have shadows that are hampering their ability to see the fire. We don't want to bring them up at, 5 o'clock in the morning when they aren't going to be able to see anything or do anything effectively. And then as he goes up, assesses those conditions, we've also had helicopters starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's just a matter of whether or not those ground resources see the need for them at that point in time. And the fixed wing air tankers typically need a little bit more sunlight to be able to see their targets, so they usually start a little bit later. But we do have constant coverage on the fire, and we definitely aren't working bankers hours. Most of the individuals on these fires are working 16 plus hours a day. Contractors? Oh, about getting using civilian help to get into the fire. Not exactly sure where we're getting at with that, but we do utilize contractors, so we aren't we're all working for different agencies, all coordinating together, and we are using contractors. We're hiring UTVs, specialized equipment to try and get into these areas. With aircraft, we have very specific requirements on what we can and can't utilize as far as flying personnel into fire. So we wouldn't just go contract with a certain ship, because pilots have to have certain qualifications to be able to carry fire personnel into the fire areas. Does that answer that question, or did I miss the intent?
Kind of covered it. I was thinking more about ground transportation as opposed to air transportation for crews. I get the aircraft and moving personnel is a much different situation than ground transport. I have been personally involved with ground transport on some fires years ago.
Yeah, and we still do some of that contract work as necessary. Most of our fire resources come with all of their own personal transportation these days and their own crew buggies, and it's really when we get into that specialized need for, like I said, UTVs, razors, that we do hire outside contractors to help with all that.
Thank you. We can clear that up afterwards as well. We want to do that. So I'm going to come over to this side, and I had one hand there. Yeah, we have another one here for that gentleman. Any other? One more? Okay.
Okay, so I read that 2 structures have been damaged. Any update on any other structural damages today? And I know you guys mentioned that you work closely with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office. Can they speak more on the damages that were reported and confirmed?
So the question is possibility or probability of 2 structures damaged, and how many more, and if so, what kind of damages are we looking at? Keep looking at the sheriff.
So we are aware of 6 structures that have some form of damage. That's what's been reported to us, but I'm not sure exactly what they are, who owns them, or how extensive the damage is. And part of our repopulation plan is, as soon as we can get up there safely to do these evaluations, and the fire personnel will lead us into that and show us where they are, and then we will find out who owns that, and we'll notify those people first that they've got some structure damage, and then we'll help get them escorted up there.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
The other day I saw a house on television that was covered with tinfoil, and my curiosity is, who pays for that, and is that something that the government helps with, and how do they make a decision as to whether that is worth the cost and the effort to accomplish?
So the question is structure preparation, structure wrapping, as it's called, and is it worth the amount of money that is spent, and who pays for it? Yeah? Okay.
Sorry. Came up with all sorts of energy on that one. So the structure you saw in the news is Palace Station. It's a historic structure that is on Prescott National Forest System land. And if any of you have seen it, you'll know that it's a very special place, and it's very special to our community. It's also covered under National Historic Register. So we have, as land managers, special responsibility for protecting that cabin. And I say cabin because we are actually in the process of transitioning Palace Station into a cabin rental that the public can actually reserve and camp up there. I see an excited face in the crowd. We have done a lot of hazardous fuels treatments around Palace Station, but because it's a historic structure, we have to use historic materials, and the roof could certainly be flammable. The materials it's made of are flammable. We can't use zoning type of materials that a member of the public could use, fire-resistant materials. So because of that, it's very valuable as a piece of history. And so it is something that we've actually unfortunately had to wrap in the past because we've had a number of fires threaten it. Our local, one of our local engines actually, who's done it before, probably was able to quickly go up and do it again. They know what they need to wrap that. And the cost of that is covered by the federal government. It's part of fire suppression activities. So it's mainly I'm guessing most of it is the labor it takes, and they did it very quickly, I think in a day, maybe, yeah. Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
Once bitten, twice shy. Any more questions over this side? Yes? Is Crown King in any danger?
No, it's not. And I know that many of you realize, I think last year Crown King was threatened twice within one fire season, but I believe I'm safe to say that this fire is not a threat to Crown King.
Over this side, any more questions? That's a cool tune. All right, just going to sweep across one more time. Oh, from the internet. Yes, ma'am.
This question's going to be for Kyle. We have a couple of questions out there that they'd like to kind of know what the timeline/process is for evaluating when an area is ready to be repopulated.
Yeah, that's a very common question. It's really hard to give timelines. As you've seen, this fire can change really quickly and can continue to move. So it's really hard to just say, hey, we feel like in 48 hours or 72 hours that we're going to get everybody back into their homes. What I can tell you is that we coordinate very closely with the sheriff's office, and it is a priority for us to get people back into their homes and resume normal life as quickly as possible. Many of us that are here with the team have been evacuated for multiple weeks, and we understand the impact that can have on your lives and how important it is that we get you back into your homes and that we restore these communities to the areas, to what they were, and we get everybody back in there. We are making good progress. As I said before, that one area on the 52B spur is a really critical piece of line. Until we secure that line, there is that potential for that northeast movement, and we really want to make sure we have that secured before we make any of those calls. I would like to think that within the course of the next few days that we'll be there, but things change so quickly in the fire environment that I don't want to say, hey, guess what, Monday morning the sheriff and I are going to talk and everything's going to be great. But it is a priority for us to get you back in as soon as possible.
Thank you. Any more questions in the back there? All right, one last sweep. There's one here. Any more? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Just clarifying, 52B Golden Eagle Road, is that the same?
52B Golden Eagle Road.
Yeah, I haven't heard it called the Golden Eagle Road. We've been calling it the 52B Road. I believe it's a double diamond mine, or Dunkirk mine, that's correct. So yes, that is the road that goes down to Dunkirk mine, and if that's what it's known as, we are talking about the same road.
Perfect, thank you. One last look. Nothing? All right, we're good. All right, great, thank you. Before closing this evening, I would like to say thank you to both Robin, who's doing all the closed captioning, and to Sandra, who's doing our ASL interpretation. Thank you, guys. And thank you all for coming this evening. Have a safe journey home, and we'll see you all again soon.